Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Sunday evening, June 1, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the that's been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the US National Hurricane Center is showing on their 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook. And as you can see here, the latest update just came out at 7:21 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is actually 6:21 p.m. Jamaica time, so almost 1 hour ago. Tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days, so there's no sign of Andrea in sight at all. On the eastern Pacific side of things, to the south of Mexico, for reference, we have Cuba, we have Jamaica over here. We had Alvin. Alvin dissipated as it headed north into the Baja Peninsula, and we can see that we now have a code orange right here to the south of Mexico, basically a system that could possibly develop. Let us see what the Hurricane Center is saying. According to the Hurricane Center, an airflow pressure is forecast to form offshore of the coast of Central America and southern Mexico during the middle to late portions of this week. Once it forms, the disturbance is expected to move generally westward to west-northwestward around 10 miles per hour. Environmental conditions are expected to be marginally conducive for gradual development of the system, and the tropical depression could form by the end of next week. Also, they've given it a 0% chance of cyclone formation within the next 48 hours, that's the next 2 days, and a 40% chance of cyclone formation within the next 7 days. And we know the next name on the list over on the eastern Pacific side of things is going to be Barbara. Let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see the numerous frontal systems off the east coast of the US, one extending down into the Gulf and Florida. We can also see an airflow pressure, basically a trough of low pressure right here to the north of the main development region. We see that tropical wave that was to the southwest of Jamaica yesterday that has now entered inland into portions of Nicaragua, Honduras, and we see a tropical wave right here to the south of the Cabo Verde Island. We can also see that ridge of high pressure right here to the north that we know is responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean, not to mention the numerous tropical waves as well as the Saharan dust pushing in that easterly flow of wind. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost the sunlight, we can make out all of the entities that we just mentioned. The frontal system extending down to portions of Florida and the Gulf. We can also see that trough of low pressure right here situated to the north of the main development region. That tropical wave right here to the south of the Cabo Verde Island. That tropical wave right here across portions of Nicaragua. We can definitely see the clouds associated with them. Some upper level cirrus clouds being streaked off from southwest to northeast across the eastern Caribbean. And we can make out the low to mid-level flow of the clouds being steered from east to west. We can actually even make out some of the Saharan dust haze the skies across the central to the eastern Caribbean as we speak. All of that coming our way for sure, if not already. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Sunday, June 1, 2025. It was stated that rainfall would have been in the forecast of parts of eastern Jamaica on Sunday morning, also affecting sections of some northern and western parishes during Sunday afternoon. And we know eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey. like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, and St. Andrew. Western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. While northern parishes, we're talking about those parishes on top, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, and Portland. And what ended up happening? As early as 7:46 a.m., the visible satellite images were posted right here on our Twitter page of Weather Jamaica, as well as on our Instagram page of weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page of Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page of Weather Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So we can see the clouds that were bringing some amount of overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, coming into sections of St. Thomas and Portland this morning. Definitely had some isolated shower activity across Portland, in my part of St. Thomas as well. As a matter of fact, some of these clouds that came in, especially considering that they came in at an angle more of an east-south-easterly or south-easterly kind of flow. Some of these clouds even came into portions of Clarendon and Manchester with some of the overcast skies, if not some isolated shower activity for sure. Then at around 3:25 p.m., the visible satellite images were posted and they highlighted the clouds. First of all, look at the flow, that strong southeasterly flow across the island. And then we also had some of these clouds coming into section of St. Thomas and Portland still, the rainfall, isolated thunder showers, and just like what we predicted would have happened, most of the air would have piled up across section of some northern and western parishes. So that's where most of the thunderstorms were during the afternoon. We're talking about section of Trelawney, section of St. James, Hanover. That's where most of the activity took place for sure. Today we see the sparkling yellow dots in there that represents some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes for sure. They indeed got on that strong thunderstorm activity. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before we lost the sunlight, just as we stated, that moist southeasterly flow definitely caused those clouds to build across section of some northern and western parishes. Then when we had the thunderstorms, those cumulonimbus clouds are being streaked out towards the southeast by that upper level wind shear. And we can see that even better on the infrared close-up satellite imagery right here. Anything that we see with the blues, the greens, yellows, oranges, reds, even the blacks and the grays, that's some deep convection right here across the northwest. Not seeing anything right now. Most of it is to our northwest. And where we have the sparkling white dots, that's where the thunderstorms, the actual rainfall is located. So don't think that it's raining out west right now. All of this is just the upper level clouds being streaked off towards the southeast by that upper level wind shear for sure. We even had a brief isolated thunder shower right here across portions of eastern St. Thomas into portion of the Blue Mountains too. And just as we stated, these upper level clouds would have pushed out to the south and then bring more overcast skies section to some southern parishes. And look at the heap of sparkling white dots that exited the St. James and Hanover coast right here and pushed out towards the northwest. Lots of lightning strikes, lightning flashes out to sea for sure. They definitely had some bad weather. If there are any cruise ships out there at that time, they definitely got it. Any fishers out at sea at that time, they definitely got it. Some very bad weather for sure. According to the live camera here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel, at around 1:17 p.m, we can see that it was definitely sunny and windy for the most part. The rear Cobra definitely chilling. Nothing in the way of bad weather, definitely dry conditions around this part of Jamaica today. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica's YouTube channel. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure, and they're planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the island. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map does indeed paint quite the picture of how we might have had that rainfall today. Across section of some southern parishes, especially in the morning, and eastern parishes, especially in the morning, and even in the afternoon. And then it's more so northern and western parishes during the afternoon hours, just like what we saw on the satellite images. We can even make out that southeasterly flow. Look at the angle of the rainfall, the moisture pushing from that southeast to northwest direction for sure. And if we take a look at some of the comments that came in from some of our followers and some of our subscribers, we have Warren Barton 5374 stating, just got a good passing shower in Greater Portmore, thanks for confirming. Active 4081 stating, place overcast and dark. Even on our Instagram page, we had the comments coming in. One Ryan that underscore stating thunderstorm in Hanover once again. We also have Ramona stating Spain a bun up it hot over here. My goodness. Well, I got my fair share of rainfall in my part of St. Thomas today. I'm grateful for the rain that took place. Alright, let us reload the very latest still image. Let us see what's happening right now across the island. The latest still image is showing 0005 UTC, which is actually 7:05 p.m. So this just came out 7 minutes ago, considering that it's 7:12 p.m. right now. And what do we see but some high cloud tops across the central to the western end, definitely being streaked off towards the southeast. So the thunderstorms are definitely off to the northwest of us. Don't think that it's raining across central and western Jamaica by all of these clouds. Don't let these clouds fool you, especially if you don't see the sparkling white dots in there. The rainfall is definitely not taking place. Maybe some light rainfall in the northwest. Can't rule out some of that. Either way, this is the actual Doppler radar. Matter of fact, let's reload it. Let us reload the latest Guantanamo Bay Cuban Navy radar as well as the latest Cayman radar. Let's see exactly what's taking place. Alright, so the latest Doppler radar from the Cuban radar side. Oh, looks like it really glitched out. It looks like the latest image that is showing is as of 6:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's actually 5:50 p.m. Jamaica time. And at that time, we saw the moderate to heavy rainfall in the greens, yellows, oranges, even some reds to the northwest of us, to the east of the Cayman Islands. And we saw the direction that it was moving towards the northwest, all of which was affecting portion of St. James and Hanover earlier. And we even see the leftover greens and blues represent some slightly light to moderate rainfall streaking up to the southeast. So don't think that it's actually raining like heavily. It's just maybe if it's actually raining out there, it's some light rainfall. If you're in Hanover or St. James, confirm for us. Is it just cloudy or is it there actually some light rain within that? Either way, the latest Guantanamo Bay Cuban Navy radar, we can see that there's some rainfall right here across the southeastern Cuba to the north of Guantanamo. Nothing being seen across the western peninsula of Haiti, but we can make out some isolated shores near Portland right there. What about the Cayman radar? The Cayman radar definitely confirming what we just saw on the Cuban Doppler radar. The greens into the yellows, oranges are representing some heavy rainfall to the northwest of Jamaica, and we see the clouds being streaked off towards the southeast, just like on the infrared. And as such, we see the light rainfall in the blues and the greens right here, extending into portions of Hanover and the St. James as we speak. You can even make out some isolated shores right here to the south of the Cayman Islands. They're definitely going to be getting some amount of rainfall this evening. We can even make out some rainfall across the section of Cuba to the south of Cuba, and we see some of this rain band activity looking like it's pushing towards the northeast. Very interesting. Taking a look at what's happening right now, the live camera here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel is showing that we have a fair halfway tree this evening. Nothing in terms of bad weather taking place. People in their vehicles going about their business, people walking about going about their business. Definitely some nice conditions for the rest of the evening in and around halfway tree, as you can see here. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can still have 28 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 27 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Monday, temperature should dip down to about 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Monday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Monday, and we can see Jamaica right here embedded in some grays and some slight yellows. That represents at least average to about 1 degree Celsius above average. I know the average temperature for the month of June is close to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, so maybe around 32 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 32 to 33 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Monday. And unfortunately, we have some maintenance outage advisories here from my JPS Online Twitter page that we have to highlight. I know that we have to highlight these because you know that when we have power outages somewhere across the island, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, please let them know that a power outage is coming their way on Monday, June 2, 2025. We're referring to Deans Valley in the parish of Westmoreland from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mount Moriah to Wild Cane in the parish of St. Anne from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're also referring to Butt Up Square or Colleyville in the parish of Manchester from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. It states here, dress down, wear lightweight clothing and use sunscreen. Check on others, including children, elderly people with medical conditions and pets. Be cool, stay indoors and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest parts of the day. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated throughout the day. Even if you're not thirsty, drink lots of water and put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. And we can see the abundance of dry air across the eastern portions of the Atlantic into the main development region. The dry air is responsible for keeping the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain this time of year for sure. We can see some of the dry air trailing into portions of the Caribbean, some of which is definitely associated with the Saharan dust for sure. We're definitely going to be getting nailed. We also see a lot of blues that represent some moisture here and there across the eastern Pacific, the intertropical convergence zone of the Atlantic, and that's what we want. We want more of the moisture so that we get more rainfall to keep water in our pipes. But regarding the Saharan dust forecast, we even made a post about this. The Saharan dust has actually started. It started, if you look closely, on June 1. It should have started this evening for sure, but not that vigorous of a bloom, just some greens into the yellows and some oranges. The most vigorous bloom is coming on Tuesday, June 3, and we can see the dark reds into the purples, or is it pink? Somebody confirm for me. I might be colorblind. And then even as we head into the 4th day of June, we still have some of that. Look at the timestamp at the top into Jamaica, and then by the end of the day on June 4, we see that it is definitely moving out of here, making way for clear skies. We can see that clearing out in the eastern Caribbean, the Leeward Islands especially, and then pushing through into Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and then Jamaica eventually. So let's say by the end of the day on a Wednesday to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're back into clear conditions. So please ensure that you all mask up. You know, the Saharan dust can do a number on our respiratory illnesses, asthma, sinusitis. So hopefully people are prepared. Get those sinus medications ready, get those nasal sprays, asthma pump, whatever the case may be. Get them all ready just in case, and get those masks ready as well. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that we have the lowest waves still across the Gulf with the lighter shades of blues extending into portion of the Bahamas, and we know the light shades of blues represent anywhere from 0.5 of meter wave height close to up to 1 meter wave height. More so 1 to up to 2 meter wave heights expected across the Caribbean, especially to the south of Jamaica, to the south of Hispaniola, where we see the dark blues and to the purples. That's representing the 2, maybe up to 2.5 meter wave heights, and that's because of the winds that are expected. We see more of an easterly flow across the eastern to the central Caribbean, more of a southeasterly flow extending from Jamaica all the way into the northwestern Caribbean right here. We see the strongest winds to the south of Jamaica, to the south of Haiti. The strongest winds in the bright greens and the yellows represent anywhere from 20 to 25 knots for sure. And regarding Jamaica's wave forecast for tomorrow, on the north coast up to 1.7 meter wave heights to the north of Portland, 1.7 meter wave height to the north of St. Anne, 1.2 meter wave height to the north of Hanover, 1.5 meter wave height to the south of Westmoreland, 1.6 meter wave height to the south of St. Elizabeth, 1.7 meter wave height to the south of St. Catherine. But clear, the highest wave should be right here to the south of St. Thomas, up to 2 meter wave height expected for sure. So hopefully the fishermen out at sea are taking necessary precautions. Definitely there's going to be some kind of a small craft warning on the south coast for sure, so be vigilant if you're out there. And all of these high waves are being brought about by the winds. We saw most of the strong wind to the south of us, but some of it definitely going to be coming in to our area. We see the bright greens, we see the yellows that represents 20 to 25 knots for sure. And whatever comes off of the sea from the east or from the southeast should be bringing some rainfall to the east, St. Thomas, Portland, and we also see where the air is going to be piling up again across section of some northern and western parishes. That pattern is quite stuck. Northern and western parishes getting that rainfall these days for sure, and it will be continuing on Monday. So look out for that afternoon rainfall of those low level to mid level clouds piling up, and then we have that daytime heating, that diurnal convection. Then we have those cumulonimbus clouds being streaked off towards the southeast. Once again, we can see the upper level winds right here. That's exactly what's going to be taking place on Monday. Something similar to what we had today when we had these thunderstorms across the northwest, and then the cloud tops being streaked out towards the southeast. And if we take a look at the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both valid for 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 8 a.m. Jamaica time. The Euro is trying to say that it's going to be raining across eastern and southern parishes at 8 a.m. The GFS, only eastern parishes. So we're working with the agreement on both maps. So let's say that it's gonna be raining across eastern Jamaica in the morning, because that's what both maps are showing. Then for 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time, I'm gonna be believing the GFS even more. The Euro is showing eastern, central, western parishes, and it did this yesterday, and we didn't get on much rainfall, especially across some south central parishes at all today. Even although we had that one person stating that it rained in his part of Portmore. Portmore is not everywhere on the south coast, so let us work with what both maps are showing. It's definitely gonna be a case where it's more so eastern, northern, and western parishes, just like what the GFS is showing right here, especially given that southeasterly flow for sure. Some morning rainfall across the east, afternoon rainfall across section of some eastern, northern, and western parishes. To get ready for all of that, a repeat of today, and even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps are in agreement that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica within the next 24 hours. The Euro going up to at least 0.73 of an inch of rainfall out east. The GFS going up to at least 0.5 of an inch of rainfall out east. Whatever happens, we'll definitely take it, because we're in the month of June now, and in Kingston, this bar graph is being shown right here at the top. We usually receive close to 110 millimeters of rainfall for the month of June. In Montego Bay, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom, we usually receive close to almost 7 inches, which must be 6.5 inches of rainfall for the month of June. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of June or for the entire year, you can visit weatherandclimate.com, and that website to show that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. You know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the math yourself. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go to the next 168 hours. That's the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. Alright, so backtracking to Tuesday morning. So we just looked at Monday, now we're going to be looking at Tuesday. And first of all, we need to highlight the heavy rainfall in the dark greens, yellows, oranges, and reds that should be taking place across section of Florida, the Bahamas, Cuba, the Western Caribbean in general on Tuesday morning. Then on Tuesday afternoon, it looks to be still southern and eastern parishes with some of that isolated shower activity. We also saw it on Tuesday morning as well, so I guess the pattern is stuck with that southeasterly flow. Let us see if the GFS is showing something similar. And the GFS Tuesday morning looks to be eastern parishes, the moisture across the Bahamas, Florida, and the Western Caribbean is there, just like the Euro. And then on Tuesday afternoon, this is making more sense. It looks to be eastern and northern parishes, unlike the Euro that was showing eastern and southern parishes. We'll see how that actually plays out. Heading into Wednesday morning, what do we see? Still seeing that bout of moisture across the northern Bahamas, Florida, the eastern Gulf into the northwestern Caribbean. We also see some isolated showers across far eastern Jamaica on Wednesday morning. Then on Wednesday afternoon, it looks to be eastern and central parishes on the Euro. What does the GFS show for Wednesday morning? Wednesday morning, just like what the Euro was showing, a lot of moisture across the northern Bahamas, Florida, western Cuba, and the northwestern Caribbean. Maybe some isolated showers out east in Jamaica. Then on Well, in the afternoon, we see that rainfall more so across some central and western parishes. Looks to be more northern and western parishes, by the way. This is what Thursday morning is showing us. 7 a.m. on Thursday, not really seeing much of anything on the GFS. Then 1 p.m. on Thursday, we see some rainfall more so across central and western parishes. What does the GFS show? Thursday morning, not really much of anything, just like what the Euro was showing. Thursday afternoon, looks to be more so western Jamaica with that rainfall. What does Friday morning show? On Friday morning, maybe some isolated shores across the far eastern end. Then on Friday afternoon, look like we're going to be getting in on that more so east-southeast of the flow. We see that rainfall across eastern, central, western parishes. What does the GFS show for the same time period? Friday morning, maybe some isolated shores across the far east. Friday afternoon, more so northwestern parishes with that rainfall. That's what Saturday morning is showing. Saturday morning, the far eastern end with that rainfall. Saturday afternoon, we see, what do we see? Some rainfall across the east, the central, and the western areas. By the way, we need to highlight that bout of moisture that should be taking place across sections of the eastern Pacific to the south of Central America to the south of Mexico. Very interesting. And we're also going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Sunday, June 8th, 2025, and we can see that there's not really much of anything expected across Jamaica at that time period. That's what the GFS is showing. Saturday morning, maybe some isolated shores across the far eastern end. We see an abundance of moisture across the waters to the south of Mexico, just like what the Euro was showing. Then on Saturday afternoon, looks to be rainfall across the northwestern end of the island. Then we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. That this is valid for Sunday, June 8, 2025. And we see something starting to spin right here to the south of Mexico. Could that be Barbara? We also see an abundance of moisture to the southwest of Jamaica. Do we see that on the Euro? Not really. Most of that moisture seems to be down in the southwestern Caribbean. It's going to be very interesting to see exactly what unfolds. And whatever happens, I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. And regarding the total accumulated precipitation forecast for the next 7 days, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are adamant that the most rainfall is going to be still taking place across sections of northern South America, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, section of Colombia, Panama, Venezuela, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, into portion of the Yucatan Peninsula, Belize, into portion of Cuba, the Bahamas, and Florida. We know this because we see the dark reds into the purples and the pinks. That represents anywhere from 2 all the way up to 5 inches of rainfall, like what we see here on the key on the right. And it's not only the GFS that's showing this, but if we look on the Euro, the same areas are going to be getting that same amount of rainfall. The 2 to 5 inches of rainfall range, could be more. They could definitely get on some isolated flash flooding. And we also see the greens into the yellows, into the oranges and reds that are going to be across section of the ABC Islands, most of the Eastern Caribbean, the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, central to southeastern Cuba, central to the southern Bahamas. And we clearly see that it's at least up to 1 inch of rainfall, nothing significant, but it could be more, it could be less. We'll see it actually plays out. But regarding Jamaica's total accumulated precipitation forecast for the next 7 days, both maps right here are adamant that the most rainfall over the next 7 days should be across the far eastern end of the island, St. Thomas, Portland. The Euro going up to at least 63 millimeters of rainfall expected. The GFS a bit less, going up into the yellows, maybe at least maybe 40, maybe close to 50 millimeters of rainfall, like what we can see here on the key on the bottom. And clearly the Euro is still adamant that it's going to be central and western parishes during the afternoon. The GFS is still adamant that it's going to be mainly northern and western parishes during the afternoons. We'll see it actually plays out, and whatever happens, I'll definitely be here to keep you posted on our other social media platforms. Taking a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost sunlight, we can see the low level flow of the clouds being steered from east to west across the main development region into the Caribbean. All courtesy of the high pressure to the north, we can see those high cirrus clouds being streaked off across the eastern Caribbean, frontal system across Florida, the Bahamas, Cuba, and the usual thunderstorm activity associated with the intertropical convergence zone across portion of northern South America, as we can see there. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar imagery of the northeastern Caribbean, let's see what's happening in Puerto Rico as we speak. In and around Puerto Rico, not really seeing much of anything. Definitely dry conditions these days. Even the maps from earlier not really showing much of anything. The Barbados radar zooming out, not really seeing much of anything. Maybe some isolated shores right here to the east of Martinique, but that's basically it. Regarding the wider view of Doppler radar images, you can see that rainfall across sections of the northern Bahamas, section of Cuba, section of Honduras, section of Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana getting some of that moderate to heavy rainfall, as we can see there in the greens and yellows. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday, and we can clearly see that sections of Northern South America will still be getting on that rainfall, section of Central America, so too sections of the Cayman Islands, Cuba, the Bahamas, Florida, section of the ABC Islands, and Trinidad and Tobago getting in on some of that. And we can clearly see that both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are in agreement. I wonder that when they're in agreement like this, the chances are higher for it to actually take place. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.